Hey, what's up? Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to talk about some more lost characters? Because I have a couple of them. And you know, they're pretty interesting, they're kinda cool. Some of them include the Antichrist, the Hamburglar, and some of them are even more bizarre. If you guys want a part 5 of this, get this to 7,000 likes. If you do, I'll talk about some really interesting stuff. And also subscribe to Zeepsterd, we're almost to 100k. I'm Zeepsterd, I love you guys. And let's talk about the sponsor for this video, Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve is a reliable adult toy store that's been in the business for 5 decades. And don't worry, if you want to order something, they'll be very discreet about it. With packaging coming in either brown boxes or bubble mailers that are entirely devoid of any logo or identifiable information. If you want to get 50% off one item, plus free shipping in the US and Canada, be sure to use the code ZEEP on adamandeve.com. Thank you to Adam and Eve for sponsoring this video. Krusty the Cat. Listen guys, when I was like 5 years old, I was a little of a bitch of a kid. I didn't like going to Chuck E. Cheese. The animatronics always freaked me out. I mean, I remember the pizza being pretty good and also enjoying the games they had. And also, I swear to God, this happened. I remember when I went to Chuck E. Cheese, like one of my first times going there, they announced that Chuck E. was giving away free tickets inside the boys' bathroom. And that if anyone wanted free Chuck E. Cheese tickets to get prizes, they'd have to go to the bathroom and meet Chuck E. there. And I didn't go in. Because even back then, I thought that was just weird. But lo and behold, the boys who got out of the bathroom came out with a bunch of, like, Chuck E. Cheese tickets. What the hell? Yeah, I'm just speaking out loud here. Krusty the Cat. He debuted alongside the other Pizza Time players in May of 1977, whom were basically the original Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. While researching, I saw a clip in which company executives tried to predict Chuck E. Cheese becoming bigger than Mickey Mouse, which, you know, never ended up happening. I mean, don't get me wrong, it became successful, but on the caliber of Mickey Mouse? Yeah, I don't think so. So here's the thing about Krusty. He was a jokester, and was also Chucky's right-hand man. I mean, sure, with any animatronic, they always have the stigma of being creepy, but when it comes to Krusty and his jokes, he seemed genuinely funny and just a fun animatronic. He was into baseball and even wore a baseball shirt that said Swingers on it with the number 13, and had 2 different designs. However, he did not last long, because after appearing in the first 2 show tapes, he was replaced with another character, Mr. Munch in 1978, forever being doomed to obscurity. To this day, we're not too entirely sure on why he was replaced, but many have stated that it was because higher-ups just didn't like him as a character. They thought he was too bland. Mr. Munch was designed to be 100% different and unique from the other animatronics, while Krusty just seemed like a lesser Chucky counterpart, which is really unfortunate. Krusty has now been resorted to a creepypasta now. And within that creepypasta story, he basically pulls off Five Nights at Freddy's and is like there freaking out the employees who are working that night. I don't know, man, this entire story just feels kind of repetitive. Like, ooh, this animatronic looked creepy when I was a kid. Ooh, now he's like evil because he got betrayed and left behind. This is truly the worst fate that any lost character could ever face. In all honesty, I don't think even Krusty is even that creepy. I think the pizza guy who is in the Chuck E. Cheese crew is even more disturbing. Just look at this guy.
Hello, you know I'm here to make it a pizza, cause that's my line.
God. Thank you for Looney TPR for recommending Krusty. On to the next character. Miss Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man? How is she on here? Isn't she like really famous? And, you know, well, she is. But being famous doesn't really make you safe from being lost. She's literally one of the most recognizable characters in gaming history and has starred in 3 of her own games. But ever since then, she has had very limited appearances. I mean, Miss Pac-Man was a pretty big deal, with key players stating that Miss Pac-Man was even better than the original Pac-Man. And you know, that's all cool and all, but why the hell did they stop using her? Well, the issue comes down to copyright, and it's kinda boring, but hey, I'll try and make this story entertaining. So the game was created by this company called GCC, underneath the company Midway, based off a franchise that was created by Namco. Yeah, isn't that confusing? Isn't that, like, just convoluted? Isn't that just like a legal nightmare just waiting to happen? Like, you're probably wondering who owns this character. Well, lo and behold, Miss Pac-Man ended up becoming a pretty big character, leading to Midway and GCC filing a lawsuit against each other for the ownership of the character. God, this... Oh my god. Okay, so Midway ends up giving the rights to the video game Miss Pac-Man to Namco. But that did not change the fact that GCC still created the character. Eventually, an agreement was made that if Namco ever made any more Miss Pac-Man machines, they'd have to pay royalties to GCC. Okay, so that seems simple enough, right? All this shit show, these lawsuits and everything, it's all been settled. So Namco acquired Miss Pac-Man as a property, and they used her in multiple games. She was everywhere, and people loved her. And then, oh my god, this sucks so much ass. The year 2000 rolled along. Namco created a special 20th anniversary arcade machine, which celebrated Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, re-releasing their games to arcades. GCC saw this and they were like, hey, where the fuck are our royalties? Leading to even more lawsuits throughout the 2000s surrounding Miss Pac-Man. It was crazy. The court ruled that any coin-operated Miss Pac-Man game would require Namco to pay royalties to GCC. And how Namco gets around this, basically they release an arcade machine that is unable to let you put coins inside it. Okay, so this video game divorce gets even more worse and more convoluted, so please, bear with me once again, please, we'll get there. So you may be wondering, why doesn't Namco just release Miss Pac-Man exclusively on consoles, PC, mobile gaming, whatever? Well, this is where GCC managed to f*** with Namco.
This is where we won big in our language. We get paid for electronic distribution of the game. If it's in any other way transmitted to any other receiving device, like say, cell phone, or your Xbox.
So yes, the legal wording is astronomical here. Every time Namco re-releases Miss Pac-Man, they have to pay GCC in royalties. Which is why Miss Pac-Man has only been released a limited amount of time since this lawsuit. But wait, it's still not over. It gets even worse and more convoluted because another company comes in. In August of 2019, At Games, a company that specializes in microconsoles, acquired the Miss Pac-Man royalties from GCC. Namco didn't like this. They didn't like this at all. So they filed a lawsuit. Eventually the case was dismissed, with an agreement being met between both parties, with the Miss Pac-Man royalty settlement being undisclosed. Ever since then, Namco has just given up, screw it. Instead of using Miss Pac-Man anymore, they've introduced a new character called Pac-Mom, which serves the same purpose of Miss Pac-Man, but it isn't Miss Pac-Man, it's Pac-Mom. The fact that this arc has not been settled within 40 years just boggles my mind, and this entire thing has just frustrated me. I came into this topic thinking like, oh hey, Miss Pac-Man isn't used anymore, I wonder why, and came out of it trying to summarize these legal nightmares that have just persisted after 40 years. I have had enough of this, let's just get to the next character. Charlotte Braun. Oh my god, let me tell you about Charlotte Braun, because this just ends in complete tragedy, and I want more people to hear about this story. So let's talk about the Peanuts comic strip. I thought it was okay. I wasn't really super into it. I know about the simple things, I know about the football joke that Charlie Brown has to deal with, and I heard the animated CGI movie that came out a couple years back was pretty solid as well. I've never had too much stakes when it comes to the Peanuts, and I don't know if I know anyone who ever has. I mean, it's a comic strip. Who the hell obsesses over a comic strip? Actually, scratch that last part, because I may be projecting over here. So Charlotte first appeared on the November 30th, 1954 comic strip, and was introduced as a female counterpart of Charlie Brown. The resemblance is uncanny. She only appeared in 10 comic strips, with her personality being bossy, loud-mouthed, and just overall dominating. A year after her first inception, she was removed from the comic strip after a fan requested for her removal to the author, Charles Schloss. In fact, Schloss responded to the fan, stating this: "I am taking your suggestion regarding Charlotte Braun and will eventually discard her. If she appears anymore, it will be in strips that were already completed before I got your letter, or because someone writes in saying that they like her. Remember, however, that you and your friends will have the death of an innocent child on your conscience. Are you prepared to accept that responsibility?" Attached to the letter is an axe going into Charlotte's head, killing her instantly, so she can't come back. I wouldn't even say she's even lost, she's just dead. Charlotte was basically replaced with Lucy, the football lady, who basically exhibits a lot of Charlotte's personality traits. Can you believe it's been 67 years since this character last appeared, officially in a Peanuts comic strip, and that she was brutally killed off by a fan? Because I can. Next character. Buddy, let me tell you about one of the most boring characters ever made. So Warner Brothers, the company that's been in the news recently because they're cutting down Cartoon Network and they're liquefying the company? Yeah, that Warner Brothers. Well, in 1933, deep in the midst of the Great Depression, Buddy was revealed to the world as a Looney Tune. And, well, he lasted only 2 years. You may be wondering, oh, what was so bad about him? That was the thing. There was nothing really bad about him. He was just really a monotone type of character who tried to act like Mickey Mouse, except without the pizzazz of Mickey Mouse and more like the voice of Mickey Mouse.
That's all, folks!
Buddy was really created under desperation, after fellow animators severed their relations with Leon Schlesinger as they moved on to other projects. The animators had taken the successful Bosco cartoon with them, leaving Schlesinger with no key cartoon character to maintain his contract with Warner Brothers. After much convincing, Schlesinger managed to convince a couple animators to make this monstrosity with him. Warner Brothers went along with it despite showing disinterest in the project at first, and for 2 years, Buddy was kind of like the trademark of Warner Brothers. That was until a more popular character came into mind. This included Beans the Cat, and then later a character named Porky Pig. You might have heard of him. Buddy is often looked back upon as one of the worst Looney Tunes characters because of no key characteristics attributed to him. After 1935, Buddy would not appear again in an animated episode of a show until 1993 in an episode of Animaniacs, in which they just shit on Buddy some more and call him even more boring. That was Buddy's last appearance. But keep in mind, that episode of Animaniacs premiered nearly 30 years ago, so they don't really like bringing this guy out too often. You know, I would feel bad for him, but he's kind of a loser, with no real distinguishable features. And despite being the second star of the Looney Tunes series, he kind of sucks. You know, when I think about lost cartoon characters, I think about like badasses like Oswald. He's pretty cool. Not Buddy from Looney Tunes. Jimmy Negatron. This guy is evil. You could tell just by his goatee. I mean, look at that. Okay, let me just say that when I was a kid, Jimmy Neutron was my shit. I would even go as far to say that I liked him more than SpongeBob. That's how much of a fan I was over Jimmy Neutron. I had the DVD copy of the movie and I would watch it over and over again. Yeah, you know how people say that, oh, I was a Cartoon Network kid, or oh, I was a Disney Channel kid. I was a Nickelodeon kid. Oh, and also that theme song, Go Jimmy Go, for the movie, that I just go through my normal daily routine, and every now and then it appears in my head, and I can't get it out of my head for the rest of the day. It's a good theme song, you should check it out, but be warned, it is extremely catchy, and it will get stuck in your head. So yeah, Jimmy Negatron. I mean, you're probably wondering, who the hell is this guy, and is he even really a lost character? Well, I mean, kind of, I guess. He was commented on one of my lost character videos by Mr. Friendship, describing him as the main antagonist of the Jimmy Neutron video game, the one titled Jimmy Neutron vs. Jimmy Negatron. And let me just say one thing about Jimmy Negatron. He's a real piece of shit. Like, I know, he's supposed to be the most stereotypical evil person ever, but like, this guy's just an asshole. I hate him so much.
My name is Jimmy Negatron. I am the super smart, good-looking version of you who resides in this dimension.
So this game was both on the PC and Game Boy Advance, and I didn't play neither. I mean, I knew about the game's existence, I just never bought it. I mean, looking at the video game though, I realized that they don't make games like this anymore. You know, where it's just a cartoon character and it's like a platformer. Like SpongeBob had a couple of these and they were really good. And I know there was like a remake of one of the SpongeBob 3D platformers, but like, I heard that one didn't get too stellar reviews and to just stick with the original, because the original just has way more charm. I assume nostalgia is also like a big factor, because when you first played these games, you're like 7 or 8 years old. You value it a little more because you didn't buy it, usually your parents bought it for you. And I also have to assume that you must be really into the cartoon series as well, if you're playing the video game for it. If I'm being genuine, I'd have to say that nostalgia plays a huge factor when it comes to my enjoyment of these titles nowadays. Jimmy Negatron would be eventually translated into the main series, but as a different character named as Evil Jimmy, and unfortunately he doesn't have the goatee. He has a different voice and his hair is different as well, and it kind of reminds me of Shadow the Hedgehog, if that makes any sense. Jimmy Neutron had 3 seasons, and for the planned 4th season, Evil Jimmy was supposed to be a main antagonist. That was until the show just got cancelled. Declining ratings had led to Nickelodeon not to renew the show, but it did not stop them from creating a spin-off known as Planet Sheen a couple years later, which, it sucked. It sucked pretty bad. I don't know, maybe by the time Planet Sheen came out I was just too old for this, but I remember genuinely hating the show whenever it was on and being like, turn this shit off. Speaking of spin-offs, I'm reminded of another lost character, the original Cleveland Jr. Well, if you want to hear about that, get this video to 7,000 likes. Yeah, that's right, I'm pulling that move. The Hamburglar is one of the most dangerous characters I've ever come across in the entirety of this series. He first appeared in a 1970 commercial as an old man stealing hamburgers from Ronald McDonald and the crew. Dressed in a black and white shirt and pants, alongside a hat and black gloves, he is a mysterious figure who only wishes to torment those around him. Unlike many in McDonald's land, he is human and he is dangerous. While researching about the Hamburglar, I found a comment that I relate to very much. Hamburglar always rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not sure why. Perhaps because he's a burglar, which scared me when I was younger. Actually, now that I think about it, his appearance is also quite frightening. McDonald's, please do better. Why scare the kids from eating burgers? In good health, LC. It's true. It's so true. Oh my god, his original design is actually like really horrifying. What is this? He looks like an evil witch. He was redesigned to have a more broader appeal, but I don't know, man. He still seems like a menace to society. Hamburglar is weird. He mostly talks in unintelligible sayings, but every now and then he's actually able to speak, so it just makes you wonder, why doesn't he do this normally? Canonically, his stripes have special powers to steal the burgers, making him even more powerful. In 2002, the Hamburglar vanished. McDonald's never made a forward statement about why he vanished, but many experts say that it was because McDonald's wanted to rebrand. He was gone for 13 years until the year 2015 when the Hamburglar returned as an actual human. With some people saying he was weird and other people finding him attractive. I don't know. I kind of really hate this version of the Hamburglar.
What's up, America? I'm on the run and nobody knows where I am. Undisclosed location. I'm trying to get my hands on all these limited edition sirloin third-pound burgers from McDonald's. They're so good I had to come back.
McDonald's tried to make him like this vlogger funny guy, but it just comes across so soulless and like, just what are you doing? The McDonald's cinematic universe really deserves its own video of its own. It's so incredible. I've been Zeepster. Make sure to subscribe. I'll see you later. Love you guys.